Good.
Yeah, but it looks to me.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, next 6 o'clock. I'm going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Reminder, this meeting is being recorded. Okay, so our first order of business at 6 o'clock is if there is anyone who would like to address the board, ask questions, or make a comment, we have 10 minutes to do that. Anybody who wants to do this? Right, I don't see anyone, so we're going to move on.
I'm just moving forward because I can't hear.
Oh, I thought you were coming up to say something. All right, then we're going to move on from that. Next up, we have the minutes of February 10th, 2025. Everybody look those over? Okay. Yes? Yeah.
an amount, and then we should agree on the amount. I mean, just to give them whatever, I don't think it's appropriate, just to say, go spend whatever, we should have an amount, and then if it gets into that, if the cleats are there, then it should, we should have another conversation with him there. So he should come, he should be asking for a certain amount, a projected amount, that's my opinion.
And I guess my opinion on that, having done these in the past, is as George pointed out, we have no way of knowing how much money this is going to talk about going to perhaps the end of April, with the election to maybe even the first week of May. It's really not that far off the historical way that this town has done this. So I don't think it should be too shocking if we have to go that way.
But does that, what has been done, like, the budget's up to the beginning, right? Sure, that means, right?
Yeah, I think, well, I can tell you, but the end of April is early for us. But I try to make this sound.
I tried, I tried already, they can't, he can't shut it off.
What was the original, this is the election?
Right now, both our town meeting and town election is the second meeting. Right now, there's a legislation out there, the Election Modernizing Act, that would move the primary election to the second meeting, the same thing that we have both of us. So it's just really not.
It's like going back to the May, that used to have an option, we don't change it.
Actually, I think that's true, and then at the time, we were getting a new governor, and I believe Mr. Cherish's. So we have a new governor sometimes the first year, some takes a little while to get out there. I just think that between all of us, maybe we can come up with something to present at town meeting to change. Even if we start with just going into May, and also when we moved to town meeting to June, it was also because we were doing them outside at the winery and maybe it'll be a little bit cold, but now we're gonna have them inside. So, I don't know,
I just have a question, so I should know this, but I don't. How is the plea bargain determined? Is it always the second week of May?
Yeah, I forget the exact terminology, but it's like the second Tuesday in May,
2 and 1.
first Tuesday following the holiday in
Second
July.
week, May, second week of
Right, so there's 6 weeks
July,
apart,
first
yeah.
Right, so it's the second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday, yeah. So
So-
I just asked Paul to see if he could tell me what day, not that it would matter because the wording would be specific to a date, but it looks like the 26th, the last Monday in April would be the 28th. So if we did that and then had the election following, I will say this though, I would be prepared that it will be, depending on what we have, of course, we're not doing elections at the town hall anymore, but I would just be cognizant of the fact that close to the beginning of the show, you will have a lot of additional traffic and stuff happening.
Well, that's right. If we did the last Monday in April, you said that was the 28th.
In this case, next
Right.
year.
So then, the
27.
27th, or for next year?
Is that
Yes,
26th?
27. It's a month, for 2026, yeah. 26 we're looking at.
So, in the same week that the Thursday, we have the election, it would be, what, May 3rd?
That would actually, it would be April 30th.
So you're saying have the election later that same week?
Right now, that's how our bylaw is. It's in the same week. So Monday for town meeting, Thursday for town election. So, two other things that other towns are doing right now is kind of trying to get
it's hard to get people to come down because they don't want to have to deal with all that. That's really the hardest part. You know, in terms of the scheduling, it's not a problem, but I don't know, I've seen in the past where people just don't deal with it, you know? So I have no problem doing it, you know, on the third week of May. And to be honest with you, I guess the best shot we can give is we're just kind of making it at this point. Let's try it. See what happens, right? If we have to adjust it, we have to adjust it, you know?
We can do that for next year, and then if it doesn't work or the legislation does not pass, and we feel we want to change it back, we can change it back.
And if we make the town meeting the end of April, we would still be able to have that meeting and change the election date, right? Well, no, we wouldn't, because you have to notify.
Right, if the dates are in the bylaws,
Yes,
so.
no, I understand, but I'm saying if we change the bylaw to make it the third Monday, let's say, in May, it could also be the third Thursday, that happens, right?
Yeah, you just want to.
Every extra day you put on that.
Well, the way you wrote it, I mean, the way you said it originally, if we were to pick the third Monday in May for the annual town meeting, with the election to follow, you know, on the next Thursday after the dissolution of the town meeting, like you said, the town meeting can go 2 days long, you know?
Right, so that, I mean,
So that-
potentially that could just kick the election out. And, which, like I said, if we have to have a state primary election and get a low attendance because people just came out of June. The only problem with that is that those mail-in ballots, yeah, actually now I'm seeing out loud, they're gonna have both ballots at the same time at home. And it will happen, people will put both of them in the same envelope and they will have to get rejected. So, I don't know. The vote by mail has really changed things a lot. So we had, just in 24, so we had a state primary September 3rd, and then our presidential general election November 5th, so 2 months apart. I had mail-in ballots for the November election. People mailed us their September ballots for November.
In November.
So obviously, they didn't get to vote either one of those elections, and they don't realize it.
Additional thoughts?
Well, I think it comes down to the cherry sheets, right? I mean, we can move it to the last week of April, and again, each department head can, you know, so they start 2 months earlier and start working on their budgets to get the FinCom. That would help that process. So that's a change that would have to happen. I know, I want to say, like, when Governor Healy took office, the cherry sheets were really late coming out. I want to say it was like March or April, but that's unusual.
She took office November 22.
Right.
So,
And the reason I remember, because I was at the NME meeting when she explained all that, and, you know, but they do try, I mean, I think they're supposed to, I think they're out now, aren't they? Usually they're out within the first quarter, you know? So, I guess if we move it to the April, which makes more sense for what you're asking for, right? For the last Monday in April, just like we had read it, you know, and then the next Thursday after the dissolution of the town meeting, then as long as the department heads are getting their budgets in 2 months early, then the FinCom would be ready once they get the cherry sheets, and they'd have to, you know, crunch those numbers. Other towns meet in April, they have annual town meetings.
yeah, like I said, I know many towns, they meet
April,
twice a
May,
year.
right.
So,
And that could be, again, you and I had talked about that. A lot of towns do need some of those meetings I've attended. They share that there is benefits to having.
well, the last what, 2 or 3 years?
apologize, because I sent the text to Maria already, and just make sure I'm not missing anything.
And I would say a chance of town meeting going 3 days, 4 days.
No.
Right.
I hope not.
I hope not. So I think, right, if you're comfortable with it, then we can make that recommendation, we can try that for that board.
Yeah, I say, let's try it, and then if we end up, having problems, then we
I just have to know.
again.
All right. Someone like to make that as a motion?
So I'll make a motion that we move for the year 2026. Right, so we're not-
Well, it's a bylaw change. You
That's a
can't
bylaw.
say-
Oh, right. So all right, so we're making a, what's a motion for a warrant for bylaw change?
Warrant article.
I make a motion for a warrant article for the annual town meeting to be held on the third Monday of May with the town election following on the next Thursday after the dissolution of the town meeting. Does that sound right?
Second?
Right. Further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Adam's act.
So do I.
Wire eye?
In the line.
Kelly and I. Okay, next up, we have the zoning board of appeals fiscal year 26. Okay. Questions or comments? Basically, we're holding this to the finance committee, we just reviewed it first.
When we had our last meeting, and I just spoke to Deb about it tonight as well. And maybe I was wrong, but I thought it was speaking with Deb tonight, up to 7 hours. It's not going to be exactly 7 hours for me, correct?
Right, but it has to be budgeted for 7 hours. So it's.
Right, to make sure there's enough money in the account, but it may not be 7 hours per week. You don't know that. Budget season.
Yeah, because the zoning, well, plus the zoning board of appeals isn't a regular meeting board, they meet when there's something to do.
Right.
So they're not like, this board or other boards and commissions that meet on a regular basis.
a question, there was nothing against you, I just.
No, that's a legitimate question, no.
I think what a lot of people are seeing here, obviously, I don't personally feel as though it's going to be, there might be some months that require 7 hours. But I think it's hard to pinpoint that until we see how many people come in, how many applicants come in. So we got to go for the worst case. But I truly feel that it's going to be less, but it's hard to say.
Right, and there are years where it was less, and the line item did not get to be in, so.
It would just stay in there and go back in, go back into the general fund. I mean, hopefully that's the case, but we don't
top of that, if there's a form or something that the department wants to, update on Permit Pro, so some forms are generic and there's no fee. They can pull a state form, blah, 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 throw a logo on it. It's up on our site, it's through Permit Pro, life is good. There are other things that requires Permit Pro to create a form or make it custom to ours, which there are fees for that. So that fee part should be figured in, and I'm not saying you use it, but it should be part of their budget process. Now, again, if the select board's budget is going to handle Permit Pro moving forward, right? Just one, it's in our line item 20, is that right? I think it's line item 20 in our budget, that would be Permit Pro. Then the select board in our budget, we should probably then earmark just an extra couple grand a year for those departments to make those adjustments they need. Does that make sense? That way they're, they're not using funds or having to come to FinCom for something because it's an unforeseen, when they kind of should know, they may not use that money. They may not need to do any forms this year, that's fine, the money just goes back to the general fund right at the end of the day, next year's budget. So, that's good, again, for us, the board, to decide how we want to do that, so.
Personally, I
us, as a board voting to level fund it or with a 2.5% increase, then the building department, the commissioner can go to the town, annual town meeting and present that to the town. So the town can hear the justification for it. If they are okay with it, I'm fine with it. Okay? I think the board would be, fine. That's what the town wants. That's what they want. It's their budget. But I don't, again, I'm open for discussion on this. I just feel that I think we should be doing a better job stewards of our finances and our resources in the town. And I don't think, personally, we're not doing that. If we just go ahead and rubber stamp this and send it over to FinCom and figure it out. Okay? And I really think the townspeople should have a say in this. This is a pretty big increase in the position. And I've done I've had conversations with people and there's been other positions in this town where we made increases and then things change and those positions, those hours never get reduced. They never do. And with everything going on right now in government in general, this is what the presidents want. They want, us to be held accountable.
Okay, now I have to have something to say about that.
Yeah, that's okay.
I have the complete opposite approach to that. I personally have spent a lot of time understanding, interviewing, talking to all the different members. I've talked to the electrical inspector, the building inspector, I spoke to Andrea. I've sat there and watched what was happening, what was going on, and I have to say, this board approved this in 2 steps. Okay, the first step was an increase in hours, and when we did that the first time through, there was a motion for 4 hours a day to do this. The board said, no, we're not going to do that. And the reason that we said that was because, as Mr. Adams pointed out, once you give these hours, it's impossible to take them away later. Okay, so we agreed as a board, and I believe unanimously, so if somebody knows how to talk, feel free to say something, that we would start it with 2 hours and see where we were. And that 30 days in, we would review that again and we would decide if there was additional time that was required. And we got Andrea and the building inspector and the electrical inspector, they all came in, the board talked about it, and everybody agreed at that point that we would add 1 additional day. I think the original move was for 2. We said, yeah, we don't think that that's necessary, 1 hour a day, because that ended up being, 12 hours a week that they would be working on this. I think to say that we would level fund it presupposes that there's no additional expense to what's going to be required to pick up the electrical inspector work, which is more than just entering stuff in permit. It has to do with taking walk-ins, taking all kinds of information, working with the paperwork that he presents. When we made the decision to take the money out of the Thames River grant last meeting, it was, in my opinion, it was with the understanding
the additional hours, again, letting the public just, agree, I think that's fine. And I think that also lets FinCom know where we stand on it, like tonight, I mean, with the planning and zoning court, right, we get a pretty clear understanding of the extra hours and what they are. It's not, I just have a hard time, I'm surprised all of us are here, that we're making this full-time position, basically, because we went online. It doesn't make sense to me. And when I met with Andrea once back, when I made that motion for the 4 hours, and I met with Scott as well, it was pretty clear. I mean, the hours weren't there. I still don't see it. I don't think that the FinCom meeting, reading the minutes and stuff, they didn't see it. Okay, that's why it keeps getting bounced around. I feel, but I agree, if, again, keep in mind with this position, it got added hours when it went online back in 2021, I think it was. That position had additional hours to go online, and she took the training that Andrew was working with. She took the training in Permit Pro. She became a super user. She's getting paid additional hours for that. That was given to her 4 or 5 years ago. It's in the FinCom minutes. You can read it. Okay? So, again, but I don't have a problem getting additional hours here, another 4 hours to up, we can figure the math out and adjust that and improve that adjustment. And then, again, let the building department pitch it. If they want to, they can get up like in other town meetings. The board's made suggestions, FinCom's made suggestions, and you're right. The townspeople, or department head can make a recommendation and make changes. That's fine.
Okay, I feel, let's be honest, we have this question to death over the last couple of months.
So, can I ask something? So regardless, if George wants us to take that out there and just level funded, it's still gonna go to town people, right? If we leave that there, it's still gonna go to town people, right? Are you asking to level funded so it doesn't look like we're supporting it?
I think so. And again, I just said level funding because I didn't have exact numbers yet. I think it's warranted, like originally, when I was tasked by this board to be the point of contact of the village department and work with Permit Pro to figure out my recommendation was 4 hours. Okay? Did all of us approve on the 8 hours back in October? Yeah, with the stipulation of review. That's why I approved yes. That's why I said yes, because maybe I'm missing something. Let's do the work. And then, there was 30, it was like 60 days later, they came back and we got the extra hours, the 12 is what it is. Okay? Without anything, with nothing changing from what I already did. Does that make sense? There's no other data, there's no justification except we're just printing this stuff off and answering emails for the building, or for the electrical inspector. And I'll be honest, I don't even know what that really means. I didn't dive into it. Did I sit down and work with Andrea, for a day or a week to see what? No. But to answer your question, I think the board's in favor of giving her additional hours. I just don't feel we've got the justification to justify the full 28 hours a week. That's where I'm getting at. So I'm okay if we want to figure out the 4 hours, keep it a 20-hour position, and then if there is an issue, come town meeting, and and Andrea has a good handle, that department has a good handle of the extra hours that are needed, and if she's falling behind, and there's the scope of work, and then that can be explained on the town floor, right? The department head now, not us, the board, the department head is explaining these increased hours. Because permits aren't, let's be honest, the building department pretty much is self-funded. Money coming in off of permits is covering all their expenses. But permits go up and down. We can look at the history. So that revenue, we got to be careful with that because this increase in stuff, And
So
that I'm just nervous, that's all. I just want to make sure moving forward that it stays funded, that it's not costing the town people money. And again, are the hours really necessary? Because to us as a board, I still haven't seen it.
So an extension of argument could be that everybody gets level funded and everybody has to make their case to the town for additional time.
Yeah, if we want, I mean, we could, I mean, again, we have that option, let's say it's the right option. Okay, I would have done the same thing with the clerks, with the planning and zoning, if I felt that those hours weren't justified. I'd be asking the same thing.
Okay,
That's
all right,
all.
let's do this. You know what, I don't feel like I'm cutting us off from discussing this. We've discussed this and was here. So I'm gonna ask now if somebody has a motion that we can at least start with.
I'll make a motion that we level fund the building inspector's clerk's salary for the fiscal year 2026 with the 2.5% increase that rate level fund.
Do I have a second on that? Okay, I do not have a second. Do I have another motion then?
Explain that again. George. Level funded.
Right, if we, and what I'm
Then it
saying,
would go to the town, then the department head would have to, if they wanted to increase, they would justify it.
that's it.
I'll second that. I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a second.
I think it's fair enough.
Do we have any other discussion?
I guess I'm just, again, it's going to the floor regardless, because there's a change, right?
I guess the difference here is, like I said, right, the board would be showing that, you know, that we like, I mean, we're agreeing that the hours, I guess, aren't there to justify this increase. Now, you're right, if we don't change it and it goes to the floor, then an annual town meeting, any one of us, you're right, I can make a motion on the floor, and I can pitch it to the town people,
Right.
and I can say that, you know, just that, there's no justification, and with proof. So, and again, to me personally, I haven't, you know, if you read our minutes and you see where we're at, we haven't seen that proof for those additional hours, that's it. So that's what I'm saying, for us as a board, I think stewards of our resources and our funds, this is the right way to handle this. Okay, and this allows the department to justify it, that's all, that's it, you know?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. I'm going to call this to a vote. All in favor?
Adam's eye.
So do I.
Go like another half an hour.
Ultimately, we are not making a vote to $25. Personally, I don't think it's warranted, and I would say it's just move on from that. Okay, all in agreement? All right. So we'll ask Chris to notify those folks that we have not taken that service, right? Next up, I knew it was going to be you, because you moved right over here, we could hear you, she knows I'm deaf. All right, Historical Commission, windmill maintenance and repair scope of work. Okay, as of right now, we don't own that windmill.
Right.
Okay. So you're here to speak to it, and you now have the floor.
So, I forgot what I came here, but diocese is donating sport windmill to the town of Brimfield. So what I did is I did a survey done, and the windmill has got an acre plan that runs along that, the street there on the side, and the new Commerce Bridge. And that went for the diocese, real estate division last Thursday, and they approved the whole, they approved donating that 1 acre plan, maybe a little bit more than an acre, and the windmill on it, to the town. So now the bishop, it's going to the bishop, and the bishop just has to give his final statement, so that's fine. So I wrote the scope of work on what we have donated to the windmill for the town, and I submitted to you guys. So just most valuable is the windmill and the Commerce Bridge, for the town.
Okay, so it sounds like this is something that, as we move towards seeing if the town's going to accept that, we need to come up with some kind of numbers as to what it might cost to do maintenance and things of that sort on it.
I did that.
Okay. And like, I guess part of that would be also finding out who would be doing it, you know what I mean?
If you want, I mean, in the packet, I mean, right now, for the record, if we were to take ownership of that plus the acre lot, the annual maintenance is laid out here is roughly $2,700 a year, which is $225 a visit a month to regular maintenance of the windmill, which includes greasing it and so forth. So we keep the mill in a working condition. So we have to have a budget item, $2,700. Then every 3 to 7 years, we would have to, basically paint the windmill, and that's just usually touch up and fix stuff, things like that. So that's 3 to 7 years is needed. I have an estimated cost of $5,000 to $7,500, which it says you could get grants, which, they have gotten grants in the past, so it's probably doable. Major repairs if the town were taking would be estimated anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000. That's not annually, of course, neither is the painting. But you'd have the budget, like the executive board, the town would have to put a line item budget in for that. So, I mean, that's the scope. I mean, it's well laid out. And I think in the last time you guys were here, we talked about, we really need input in from Zach, because if we're gonna take an acre lot on and maintain the footbridge and so, and, this maintenance stuff, is that coming out of his budget, like who's cutting the grass and maintaining it, like that part of it, he's gotta look at, and he needs to figure that out. Because last time I talked
get them, and there's, you know, but there's certainly no guarantee of that. So we need to, if we're gonna do that, we need to plan, you know, how do we pay for this in the event that we're paying for it ourselves, you know what I mean? Which is really just basic math, you know?
And a lot of grants are usually matching funds, where again, we have a couple line items, that like the Big River stuff, it's not tax dollars from Brimfield, that makes sense, those are funds coming in other ways, you know.
And that's something, if you, for example, just to arbitrarily pick a number, I used to civil law monument as an example, okay? You get a $10,000 matching grant, you got the $10,000, we match $10,000 out of our could do the same thing going forward on the thing, or across, or, you know, some other way we could have it. So I'm not saying it's not doable, I'm just saying these are things that we need to be able to explain when we're asked about that.
Right, so really,
But I like the idea. And you know, the tragedy of it is that quite a few years ago now, the state actually gave money to do this, to repair that thing, fix it up and do all of this. And for some reason, I'm never going to understand. The then Board of Selectmen said, yeah, we don't want this, to send the money back to the state, which almost cost us getting funds from them for a long time, because you don't send money back to them, you know what I mean? So it's unfortunate, but here we are again with the opportunity to do that. I like the fact that, I like what you're doing with it,
Yeah,
and I personally support it.
yeah, if they're gonna give it to us, then obviously we're gonna figure out how to maintain it, how to, you know. I think it's an amazing opportunity. I'm just worried about doing one. Right, and we just figure that out.
And again, that could have, again, in our insurances too, because we're adding more property, how does that affect our insurance, you know, for the year, because we're increasing that liability. But I think a walkthrough with the highway surveyor, you know, that would be probably a good step
Yeah.
to get some feedback with him.
Yep.
so what would be the next step then? What has to proceed?
Well, I guess,
What do you need from me, that you,
I guess,
In preparation for
Yeah.
receiving this piece of property, I think we need to get, do a walkthrough with building maintenance. And then goes again. I mean, when are they gonna hand this over to?
well, they don't, I have to make sure I have approval, right? But I'm assuming that I should hear something in the next 2 weeks.
So if we can, a walkthrough with the highway department, right, so it's Zach, and so he can look and see what, so he needs to figure out manpower, the dollar amount for the budget. Now's the time to do it because we're putting budgets together. So he needs to figure that out. We could probably find out with the insurance company how that works, so the insurance part, those rates go up, you know, we need to know that.
Yeah. Good, I'd like to add, when a walkthrough is done with that, I think a member of this board should be there.
Sure.
So that questions, you know,
Yeah,
we may have.
we would love to get that
Chris, and one or two board members, no more than two can go, so. But if there's two board members that want to walk with you, that'd be great. That would be actually good for the rest of us. Yeah.
So that would be a gift to the town, then, so
Yeah.
then, will the town, you want to vote on that to accept it?
Technically, we can accept gifts on behalf of the town, but this is something I'd like to see go to the floor.
Yeah, I think that's all right. Well, that was said, sorry, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, just we received today the article for that.
So they have the article.
So you're just prepared to present it to the town, then, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and probably get, our support, so the town would have one.
Yes, I want to get, well, all my ducks in order to make sure that, okay, I had everything I needed, and yeah, I would,
And it's also, it's an acre of land, too, they're gonna tax it.
yeah, a lot of it's conservation, though, because it runs along the water, so I'm not pretty sure how much you would have to go, so it's a
Well,
good idea to walk it.
Right, and the bridge has maintenance, so he has to look at
Yeah,
that.
does he do that too, for the bridge already?
Well, no, but if we took ownership of it, yeah,
So we don't do anything to bridge?
I don't think so.
I think that's the church.
I think that's.
I think it is.
I'll ask again.
Yeah, I think it is too, but.
No, it's on it now.
Yeah.
Very true.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
It's a great project.
Make sure that it's on. Right. Next up, we have the Continental's license for campground.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2025 common victuals license for Quinlock Road Campground LLC. Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Chris, you're all set?
Okay, all in favor?
Adam's aye. So do I.
All right.
And the lot.
Kelly, going to exercise moves and questions down. So under old business,
Yeah, give me a
we
second.
have public access television, with the job description. We had said the last time that anybody had thoughts about this. Right? I saw what you sent in, I'm happy with that. So if you want to adopt that, that's a living document. We can change it as we need, and that gives us a way to at least get this thing started.
Make a motion that we accept that. Open access coordinator job description.
Second?
All in favor?
Adam's aye. So do I.
All right.
And the lot.
Oh, yeah. You know what, I forgot to ask you, does anybody want to say something about it? I'm sorry, I should have asked that.
I just, just so you know, the hours recommended stuff is part of the benchmarking, and I did have a conversation with Matt to get a better understanding of the hours. So that's, and I kept it under the $20.
Okay, next up on old business, we have common center classification and compensation study. I have to be honest with you, I said this to anybody who I've spoken to on this, I don't necessarily accept this in its entirety, because I think there are some flaws in the way it was done, when it was presented to us. So, that's my point. I think before we say, yeah, we're going to adopt it in its entirety, I think we need to look at it. There are things that I think, there were comparisons made in towns that I think are not big towns to us. So we're not sure that we're going to have some of those numbers are accurate. So
So I had actually asked for this to be put on the.
yeah, that's fine.
Just because this report was done in March of 2024, and actually nothing's been done with it. The simple thing, like the job descriptions that they did, we sent out to all of our departments, and we haven't adopted any of that stuff. So I would like to see, even if we just start with the job descriptions, the things that there's Chris made a book for me of all the job descriptions, the last edits. Let's solidify them, vote on them, and make them publish them, basically.
I think that's an excellent idea.
So what I would suggest is that we start by the job descriptions that fall under this board, and we look at that at the next meeting, and we vote on those, and we vote on them, we get them out there. It's very frustrating that there are no job descriptions that I can point to.
Let me ask a question, and that's an excellent suggestion. Okay? But let me ask this. How would we feel, this is this at the selectmen's meeting. How would we feel about scheduling a meeting exclusively for the purpose of dealing with these descriptions, classifications, and so forth?
So with all departments,
Yeah.
that's a feat.
It's
So
good
to get everybody on the,
It's good, well, what's that?
I think that's a feat to get everybody in the same room, but,
No, I don't mean, no, I mean just for this board, I don't mean everybody. in
Oh,
town.
okay,
I
okay.
mean just for the board of selectmen.
Oh, yes.
So instead of trying to do it, you know, at a meeting where we've got 15 other things to do,
Right.
where we can sit down and concentrate solely on that issue and give it the attention that it needs, because otherwise I'm afraid.
right.
I agree. You okay with that? Is everybody okay?
Yes, I just.
All right, then you know what? Why don't we,
Send off.
I know that, I don't mean to drop this on your plate, but I know that you have an interest in all of that.
Yes, sir.
If you would like to take a look at that, let me know when you think you'd like to sit down and do it. I will work around that schedule and I'll coordinate with the other board members.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay?
And then, with that said, as far as the benchmark itself for some of the employees, Marie has been working on some of that. Actually, I've been working with her on some of that. Tomorrow, we actually have a teams meeting tomorrow to talk about some of the positions where she's at. I know Crystal's and Joe, I think, is attending that meeting. So to get some feedback to address what you said, along with, again, have a better, so we know where we're at, what Marie's been working on. Because she's been taking pieces of it, like looking at it and say, okay, really need to focus, like she was thinking of focus on the clerks and see how it all works. And in the last 2 weeks, her and I have had multiple conversations, and that's what led to a team's meeting, because there's just so much, like, for me to understand how she's thinking. So, and then we'll have some input too. So I think at the next meeting, or even at this job description meeting, we can talk about that too.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just, again, I can't reiterate that there has to be some kind of, I mean, whether or not the call for report is flawed, we have it, so it's gotta give us some form of direction. We have to have some direction for our employees, for everybody.
Okay, thank you all for that. Next up is the report that was given on what's happening with the air quality suggestions and all annex. So that's all there.
With that, on that report, with all the work that's been happening, I mean, Paul, if you look at it, Paul's done quite a bit of stuff. He pulled the rug out from upstairs, insulation stuff you've been working on. I would like for the board, and Chris, we can get a couple estimates on the deep clean and the annex. With all the work that's been happening there, it's been a while. This past year, between all the money we've spent in the whole remediation and everything else. The deep cleaning, again, right, dusting, everything, the whole thing. I think it would be money well spent. And then maybe if we get a company with this, then what that would look like, we do it monthly, quarterly, whatever,
I think that's definitely a good start. I also reached out to all the offices within the building today just to ask, who has air purifiers, who's maintaining those. And in my opinion, most offices came back and they said that they're maintaining their own air purifiers. I don't think that's the employee's job. I think that falls on building maintenance, and I think there needs to be a clear set schedule as to when he's doing it, and there needs to be documentation when he's doing it. We need to have documentation of all the work that's being done within the office for our employees.
Yeah, whatever.
And I would also-
Yes, and there's, when
And I
there's a
would
checklist.
I would also encourage Zach to, because I think he's made, Zach's a budget writer.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
Paul's on.
I would encourage him to plan accordingly for next fiscal year, maybe that.
Right.
That's work that.
Yep.
So,
I agree.
okay, that makes perfect sense.
So can Chris get a couple deep clean quotes, like figure that out?
I have the companies that we pulled together from before, so I think that they would be able to work with that.
And to be sure, this is not an assessment, that's all we've done.
Right.
This is just how much to fix it.
Right, this would be if someone, like a company came in and cleaned the office, like on a Friday when the office is closed.
So does that happen now?
No.
Like, who cleans the building?
Well, I mean, Paul does,
Oh.
but I say deep cleaning, I'm talking discussed this. What
Oh,
else?
fine.
All it is a Swiffer,
Right.
a little bit.
Right.
But like, as far as bathroom, like sinks and wet downs and dusting, that does not get done.
That should be done.
So I think like, if you had somebody that came in once a month, the dust is one of the worst issues there.
And
So
several employees have stated that.
without the ventilation,
And I
it's
would
just.
say that that is something that we can do at our meeting with the job description, because I'm not sure that, well, if he has a description, I'm not sure. what-
Right, but, yeah.
You know?
that's
And if
fine.
we're gonna get it, if we have a cleaning service that's gonna come in once a month, like you said, or whatever that looks like.
Do you remember, I think it was in 2022, we got a clean company, clean next door, Paul had done a bunch of cleaning in there, and it was, the dust particles were, it was horrible, it was everywhere. So we went through a big process, and we got a clean company that came in and cleaned the town hall upstairs. So that, maybe we can use that same company again, especially if you want to do a month.
Right, you work with Chris. and-
I don't think anyone in the annex will say we don't want that.
No, I know that, but again, if that's something, you're right, I was wondering who did, no offense, but some of that stuff, our employees.
Goes against the clock.
Yeah.
So here's what's gonna happen. I'm going to step out for the next license, and I'm coming back in so that we can call an executive session. So we're going into executive session, and we will not be reconvening in public session. So you're welcome to stay for this next thing, and then we're going behind closed doors. What's that?
He's on us.
All right, up next. The 2025 annual flea market owner operator's license for Collins Apple Barn.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025 annual flea market owner operator's license for Collins Apple Barn.
Second. Third. Any discussion? All set. All in favor?
Adam's eye.
Why,
Randall, aye.
I'll make a, we have to make a motion in the meeting.
yep.
I'll make a motion, we close the meeting. We going into session? I want to shut the camera off.
Yeah, I just made a motion to go out of open session and into executive session.
Make a motion that we end open session.
I'll make a motion that we go into. Oh, yeah.
Pursuant to GL 30A, Section 21A, 3, to discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. An open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body. The chair or so declares.
Adam's eye.